Welcome to TrailManners, the podcast so dedicated to mountain trails and running that they broadcast out of a 78 Volkswagen bus in the mountains. Who does that? Eric and Joel are your hosts and will bring you the trail life as you may have not heard it before. You hear about everything from gear reviews, nutrition to keep you upright and moving forward, and they'll even bring guests into the bus for conversations that you won't hear anywhere else. It's time for some running adventures on a higher elevation. The old 78 Volkswagen bus is fired up and headed to the mountains. Here are your hosts for TrailManners, proudly representing the 801 with their passion and love for the trails, Eric Manning and Joel Hatch.
Welcome to the TrailManners podcast, episode number 69. Today, we are talking with Draney, Debbie Farka, and myself and Joel on the mic. We're going to be talking about a few things, DNFs, and we may or may not be having a donut eating contest. So if this is your first time listening, then thanks for coming. The TrailManners podcast is produced every week for your enjoyment, and show notes are found at trailmanners.com. Come back often, and please feel free to add the podcast to your favorite RSS feed or iTunes. You can also follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at TrailManners. All links are in the show notes. All right, welcome back to... This is going to be a super special edition of the TrailManners podcast. Joel signed off on that. So we are we just got done with a run, first of all, with a good group of folks.
It was fun.
And it is like a snowmageddon today. Joel got stuck in his truck.
Stuck. It's not going to get out until spring.
Yeah, and we got to go shovel them. And myself and one of our guests today, Mr. Draney, we weren't able to push him out.
No.
And so that was bad. Debbie, who is our other guest, had a good view from her car.
She watched.
As we couldn't struggle to get
her coach
the
said that
loose.
wasn't part of her training plan, so we couldn't include
moron.
That. Yeah.
What a coach.
I'm pretty sure you told me not to help.
Yeah, I did. That was my instructions.
Yeah. So what do we got going on today? We got Ty, we got Debbie, myself, Joel on the mic.
Yeah, a couple boxes of
Dunkin' Donuts.
That's right.
So we've been training hard.
Yeah.
Ty mentioned what he ate yesterday. Why don't you give the listeners an idea what you had yesterday to gear up for today?
I don't think we can expose the kids to that. I'm a little bit embarrassed.
Are you?
That. Yeah.
You're not embarrassed by 2 dozen donuts?
No, not when this is healthier. Not when it's a step up. That gives them a frame of reference. And I'm just worried about moving my head now after being chastised by the TrailManners crew.
He's going to be frozen in that position.
So
can I move my
remind
eyes?
everybody real quick about that, Eric?
Okay.
So one of our first episodes we had
first episode.
We had Ty Draney on.
Yeah.
And we had to scrap it. If that's the right word for it, because
I don't blame him.
Because Ty was not familiar with the
mic
etiquette of microphone usage.
I just barely got those in Wyoming last year.
Yeah.
Microphones?
I'm not familiar with it.
Nice. But that came with your karaoke machine.
What's that?
And so we had to get on before the show. We usually, with our guests, we say, okay, these mics this is how they work. It's not just a normal microphone.
Right. Well, he's the reason we had to do that.
Yeah, he is the poster boy for how to not use a microphone.
Right.
Crash test dummy.
And coming in a close second, though, we have to say, is Turtle Miller.
He's going to overtake.
Yeah, because
quickly.
These mics, you got to talk into them.
Right.
This is turning your head away from a microphone, folks, and that's not very far.
No.
So he's locked and loaded. We got him stuck in this position.
Yeah,
which
he's
I like.
Doing the mannequin challenge right now.
He is.
I think my neck meat is cramping right now. Is there an easier way to do this?
Okay. I've never heard neck meat before, and I like it. I like it a lot. Okay, so today on the show, we're going to be talking about some DNF because it's something that our listeners want to have us talk about. And
right.
So we brought in, 2 guests. We get more perspective. There's 4 people.
Right.
But before we get into that, we want to check in on Ty. Ty, how you doing?
Better now that
your
this
neck
is
meat's relaxing.
yeah. I'm good. Yeah, it's like when you just think your knee hurts, and so someone kicks you in the shin. So Achilles is feeling good relatively. To my sternocleidomastoid.
Ooh,
here,
nice reference. I
You're
like
welcome.
that.
You're welcome, wing guy.
I'm
muscle guy.
I'm
like
gonna
it.
stick with neck meat.
Yeah, that's
so
more
much
fun,
easier to hashtag.
Yeah, no, doing really well. back running a little bit. I wouldn't call it training, but running pain-free for the first time in years. Got in a snowy trail run. Been mostly sticking to the road. I probably, had 100% more vert than I've had since July. But But good, yeah, doing well. Just trying to split the difference between pushing it along and getting back, and because I'm not getting any younger, and
You look younger.
well, I'm a public educator. It takes years right off you. And so pushing it along, and then also trying not to hurt myself because surgery takes time and money, and so trying to refrain from enrolling any cool projects or races at this point, and not doing super well with that.
Right.
But
You're hitting the podcast scene.
yeah, well, that's as I said, my vocalizer's great, so so
My
we're
goodness.
good.
Equalizer.
You are an educator.
Yeah, another scientific term for you.
Yeah.
It's just right of your neck meat.
So for those that don't know, let our listeners know, why haven't you been able to run, and why are you coming back? What's going on?
Well, I've been dealing with an Achilles thing off and on, in retrospect for several years, since about probably 3 years, maybe 4 years, and finally, after in a battle on and off, and I never really gave it a really good break, in retrospect, because my training schedules didn't ever really coincide really with my high school athletes. And so I was always kind of doing my off season wasn't really an off season, and apparently doing that for like 15 years straight is bad. I know everybody's worried about OTS and all that stuff, but so it kind of cropped up, and it just kind of gradually got worse, and then Barkley makes every part of your body feel better, and it turns out I just didn't rebound really well after that. Kept moving back to trying to train and to really run instead of, hike up ridiculous things. Just never really came around. I was scheduled to run the Smut 60K last year, and it wasn't getting better. I ended up running the 35K with my 13-year-old son. Awesome. It was the best, most fun I've ever had in a race, and that was great. But then I finally ended up going to have an MRI, and it turns out it was torn, but not ruptured, but torn. And so I had it's called a Haglund defect. It's by far not my most effective part, but anyway, I was born with it, and just the years and the angle was pulling on my Achilles, and I think it probably started out as tendonitis, and then it was just tearing. So shopped around and was able to, all the cool kids go, like Ben Lewis, get to go to Sweden. I couldn't swing that, but I ended up through a friend getting in down at the Stedman Clinic in Vail at the Olympic Medical Center. They treat real athletes even, so it seemed like a good place to go. And they did a great job. The procedure's a little different. There in Sweden is the only way traditionally they would remove your Achilles tendon completely, shave all that off.
Right.
Because I had some bone spurs underneath the Achilles, and plus that big bump on my heel where it connected. And so they, instead of doing that, they split the Achilles grain-wise and go in and do all that stuff. And they peel back they had to peel back a little corner of it.
Right.
But the recovery time was astronomically different. Like, I would just be getting out of a cast now if they would have taken my Achilles. It was 4 to 6 months in a cast. Doing it this way, it was 10 days.
Holy cow.
As I'm not really great at math, but
that's a difference of
like
a few days.
Yes.
Right? Yeah, according to my math. So when did you have this procedure done?
August 10th or whatever. Something just that Wednesday or something after Vaquero. Yeah, right there. We drove down, and so it's been going well. It was a weird fall, not running with my kids and stuff, being that guy, playing fossil fuel athlete on my four-wheeler. Luckily, the one I was able to borrow had a sweet, it was like a gun rack or a rod rack on front, so I could put my polio crutches in it, and I could zoom around, and follow the kids and tell them to run faster, it was good. It was typical. It was, it had some camouflage, and it was good.
Nice.
Fit in better with the locals.
There you go. Did you have your brush popper?
I didn't. I don't currently own a brush popper, so I didn't have one. So started running. I ran a little bit the first week of December. I got to jog the course when we were down at Foot Locker in California, and so I think I ran 30 miles last week. Haven't run as many miles this week. So again, trying to strike that balance, and it's doing good. It looks good. That bump obviously gone, and they're good at doing stitches. They were expensive, but it's just nice, clean, and you can hardly even tell. So kind of changed my gait in a few things. So I say my kids tease me about being like a baby moose. I'm kind of like Bambi trying to learn how to my foot and stuff. But it's good. It's good to be coming back.
Learn how to run again, right?
Yeah, kind of weird. Yeah, like feels like I lost. I was like paralyzed on one side or something because it's a little bit. It changed totally. I used to be really kind of pigeon-toed on that side because of the whole anatomy of my foot, and now look in the snow. I hardly even recognize my own tracks.
Hey, that was me.
Yeah, yeah. And so it's good. So
that's great. I mean, it was fun. I mean, we went running with you this morning, and like we said, it's a huge snowstorm.
Yeah,
and it was fun to have you out there.
It was
awesome.
It was awesome.
You did a great job.
yeah.
And it was awesome to almost be able to keep up with you.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
You know?
guys were crushing it. I know, Deb. We couldn't even hardly keep up.
I know.
It
She
was-
killed us right out of the gate.
yeah.
She
Good.
did not take the warm-up loop.
No.
It was good. You gotta. There's
what
got to be some sucker to break trail.
Yeah,
though.
exactly.
I noticed Joel faded right back there. That he went out the gate and then pulled the old man, stepped aside.
Yeah.
That's
Like
the
that,
way,
didn't you?
That's the way we like that, though.
Well,
See, when guests come to town, people up their game.
Yeah.
Myself, I don't care who comes to town.
Yeah, it's like most things. It's like my dad says. Like most things, it's not so bad once you get over the shame of it, right?
I'm like, who's coming? I don't care. I'm doing what I
Who's
want to
that?
do.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, I don't need to talk. You kidding me? I'm breathing back here. I don't need to chat with you fools. I'm just going to breathe. I'm going to take it in. Like I told you guys earlier, I felt like I was like light speed in Star Wars with all that snow.
Oh, yeah.
You know, well, when we run downhill, because that's
Right.
when I was
Felt
going
like
faster.
I was floating going downhill.
Yeah.
Snow.
It was
fun.
it was
really
amazing.
fun.
It was an amazing morning. It
You
really
might end
was.
up calling you Han now the rest of your life.
Yeah.
I
So.
think that's the name.
Or Obi-Wan, something like that.
We'll figure something. We got.
Yeah.
I'll come up with a Star Wars name, but
Yeah.
it can't be
Alright.
the real Star Wars names because that's bad for them.
Bad for their
You might-
business.
yeah,
well,
yeah. We don't
you
want to
just
bring
never know.
we don't want to bring the franchise down.
Well, in the current climate, you just don't know who's listening. You
Yeah.
know, George Lucas might end up suing you. You just don't know. So.
Yeah, it's
Probably.
true. George, I had nothing to do with this, by the way. But hey, I really would like to come to your ranch, though. Hey, we could have put a race on there. We probably just need one permit, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Maybe.
that's true.
That'd be cool. That'd be super cool. So, do you have plans this year, or are you just kind of like playing it
Plans
by
that
ear?
you want to talk about?
Yeah, I have some top secret stuff. I'm just throwing that out there because it really makes my wife crazy. Because
she listens to the show.
Because yeah.
Hey, I don't care for
Did I
that
giggle?
laughter. And since we're on mic, he rolled his eyes.
Yeah,
So
he totally
Well,
did, didn't he?
that was for nothing with you guys.
Sure it
but,
wasn't.
Yeah.
you're ooh. Your last time.
I just had a pretty funny image of her, her sitting down and at work and pulling up the podcast. Not gonna probably happen.
It
but
does. She's probably
yeah.
got her Beats by Dre on. She's sitting there
Maybe.
listening to the show.
I would pay for photographic evidence. of
Maybe
that,
that's
for
her
sure.
secret.
Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I was telling Joel this morning that I was trying to think of an equally bad but different idea than Barkley, toying with the idea of maybe running Desert Solstice next fall and see how many laps I can do on a track,
In 24
So-
hours.
Yeah, in 24 hours on a
Right.
400-meter track. And
Right.
part of that in me is intriguing because, A, you don't have to worry about anyone scraping you, or you don't have to worry about condolence letters or, what time the race starts. And
Right.
it's even I should manage not to get lost in that one.
Right.
And just keep turning left,
So how many laps in 24 hours?
Well, let's
on a
say
track?
The winners have been running about 150 miles.
Wow.
So
Which is how many laps?
4 laps to the mile.
So you said
that
600 laps, something like that?
Oh my gosh, 24 hours on a track. I bet I could get a solid 2 laps in.
So how do they keep? Do they have somebody out there keeping track of the laps?
I think either that or chips. I'm guessing they've got a chip.
They
I
got a
don't
chip?
know that much about it. I've
Okay.
just been in. It's kind of an old guy thing. I think I mean, old. Was it Peter that did the Run Across America? I think he crushed it the year before, and Scott Jurek had his little bout there, and might be a way to combine running a lot with my years of track, and I don't know. Be cool. Let's see if you could make a U.S. team, or I don't know.
I think
don't know if
that's a good
possible.
idea right
Yeah.
there. That's a cool idea. Make the U.S. team.
Yeah. but we'll see. Because they usually go to some crazy place like Bulgaria to do the same thing again in the spring or something. And I don't know. It's kind of been.
So when is that? Or when is the desert solstice?
Like first week in December or something like that.
Plenty of time.
Yeah, so that's why I thought I'd give it kind of a good time. I plan on, starting to compete again probably, fall, hoping to pace a few races. Going to be back up at Kroger's.
Nice.
Really
Nice.
excited about that. Going to give lots of hugs and high fives and air guitars. These guys are coming through, and that's pretty fun. We're there. That's the long way this year, so I guess we got our work cut out for us. It gets a little more carnage when it's at mile 65 instead of 35 or
Right.
whatever. Those guys coming through last year, they didn't even look tired till halfway through.
So
And
now
they
you
looked really bad.
Now you really got to give them the boot.
Yep. So yeah, that's kind of it. Yeah.
So
Doing
before
whatever.
we transition, shall we have our first donut?
We got to start at some point. They're going to
Right.
get
So-
hard.
Stale.
What
Yeah.
are the rules, Eric?
Eat donuts.
Okay, and
Don't throw them up.
okay, good. I like those 2 rules. And you have to eat a minimum of 3,
Minimum of 3. You
Yeah.
can't DNF before 3.
right?
That'll segue right into your next
Exactly.
segment.
Yeah, see,
I
that's
just-
nice.
really
Nice
talking about
segue.
It just came to me.
DNF.
Smooth.
It really just came to me.
Yeah.
So we have an assortment of donuts that I got this morning.
Yeah, Joel went and got the chocolate.
Those are my favorite.
Oh, a couple glazed. A couple like just old fashioned. I guess they're glazed with frosting and sprinkles.
Yeah, they didn't
which
have
nobody.
the,
Mr. Sprinkles.
they
Apparently, nobody eats sprinkles unless you're 3 or 5 year old.
Yeah, so
but
I got a
do.
couple for you.
Yeah.
'cause I knew you'd like them. They didn't have the candy cane one. I was looking for those.
You got some jelly
Past that
filled,
season.
right? There's some
Yeah,
jelly.
couple
filled.
jelly filled.
What are the frosted? What are the
Those-
sugar coated ones?
The
Those
sugar
cream?
coated ones have chocolate in the middle, chocolate
Ooh.
cream in the middle.
Okay, and
So
so,
I think-
sounds good.
See, I got those for Debbie.
so that makes up 12, and then we got a straight dozen of glazed.
Yeah.
There's 4 of us, so 24 donuts.
Yeah.
So someone's gonna eat like 3, and tap.
Oh yeah.
I think we might run out. What do you got in that fridge? you got some
Couple more
sausage
donuts.
or
I've got some
bacon?
eggs and bacon.
Sausage.
All
You're
right.
We
Mr.
got
Mr.
om-
Mr.
we got omelets
Chorizo
coming
burrito.
up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Eric warmed up with the chorizo burrito already.
Yeah, well, you gotta,
Stretching his stomach.
you gotta get
an
it
hour
ready.
before the donut thing.
Yeah, you got to get it ready, man. You got to prime it.
This is that
Just like
space-time continuum that he's
Yeah.
confused with, I think.
It's
on
just
how
I'm
that's
giving
supposed to go
giving
down.
him the same look I gave him like I don't know 2 weeks ago, or when the look I was giving the turtle when he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna lose 60 pounds."
Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
yeah.
And
That
Eric just lost it. At
I
that
couldn't
point.
stop giggling because of just Joel's face when he's like he was in utter shock, and Turtle was like on the
He was like totally serious.
he was like I'm for real, right?
Yeah.
So he was, and I just lost it.
He's
So,
going to blow away.
so yeah, we're at the
He's not gonna do it.
so we're at the 18-minute mark
Yeah.
of the show,
Whoa.
and we still got lots to talk about.
We do.
But we're gonna so
I think
we
we're a little behind on the donuts.
so we're gonna apologize to the listeners right now.
because it's gonna be.
Yeah, and we're gonna do the best we can not to chew in the mic. Ty just started.
I just went for it
He's gonna
too.
win.
Ty just started. So here we go. We're gonna start this, but we're gonna keep the show going. And the next question goes to Ty with a mouthful of donut,
Mouthful of. Oh my gosh, he's after it too.
and it's
Go for it.
powdered. So El Vaquero, okay.
Yeah.
Talk to us. It's coming up again this year.
What year is it this year? Is it
How many
12?
is this?
Lucky
Oh,
13.
rookie.
13.
Lucky 13.
Wow. I don't like the look of Debbie's donut at all.
Oh, see, now you ruined it. Now I can't eat it.
So 13.
That was my favorite part.
I'll just start with one of the sprinkles.
Yeah.
So 13 years, you've learned a lot. I think most of us. Debbie's got her El Vaquero sweatshirt on. I'll be up this year for my 5th.
I didn't kiss that
50K.
much ass this year. I almost thought about bringing my El Vaquero sweatshirt.
So where are we at with registration?
That's a good question. One I don't really have an answer for because, with my schedule, the way it goes, we'll be doing a bunch of that stuff here in a couple months. Ahead of last year, I know that at this
Right.
time, but
You're
we
welcome.
typically,
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
You're
welcome. We typically fill up late. It's been one of those mysteries to me. I get that, Afton, Wyoming isn't usually every person's destination. We don't have any goth opera or
Goth
or
opera?
like
What the
blow
hell's
up.
that?
Like you have
This
been
is a
to Europe,
best
have
show.
you?
Neck meat, off opera.
Well, yeah,
There's some weird S&M stuff going on up there in Afton.
No, that's what I say. We don't have that. It was the Europe scene. If
Oh,
at the starting line, you get crazy drum lines and we're pretty old school.
Eric's making a note for that right now.
Yeah.
Drum line for this year's start.
It's a very, very laid back, old school. I think that's what it's appealing to most people.
That's why.
That's why we
That's why I
love it.
love it.
Because you can come
One
hang out
of
at the
them.
lake and you can chit chat and
God, these donuts are good.
have a burger and.
That's one of the things because
Ty is done with his first donut.
that course is ridiculous too, though,
Yeah.
and I mean in a beautiful way.
So is there like points for time?
No, that's just number 2.
That's number 2 for Ty. He's going for the thick and heavy ones.
Oh my gosh, he's got jelly all down his pretty beard. But yeah, I mean, most people, a lot of people we talk to, there's a general. Do you feel like there's a good core group of people that come back every year?
Yeah, for sure. When I originally started, I was even going to kind of phase out the 25K. But we have lots of locals, lots of people that even like guys I grew up with that I wouldn't even run to the bathroom kind of guys, that they come out and do that. And a bunch of even older folks that are like, I've never, is that disqualified?
Drainage.
That are like, I've lived here my whole life and I've never seen the lake or, so lots of cool stuff like that. And so I've kind of kept that on. And for 3 or 4 years, we had probably twice as many people in the 25K as the 50K. We're about even this last year, but I've got 200 spots. So if the race director would ever hit the right toggle switch so people could see how many people were in there,
Right.
all of us would know.
That's why people are going to be nervous. They're going to go to the site thinking, I got time, and you may not have time.
You may not.
You
So
really may
get
not.
on it now, right?
Yeah, because
Part
it's
of the mystery.
It is a seriously the course itself, and we just talked about it before the show. How we want to come up and just run up there, explore a little bit,
Right.
See some different area because the course is ridiculous. Obviously, one of my favorites.
Okay, we need to up our game. Ty's on donut 3, and I'm just starting 2.
Milkless.
Debbie wants it glazed.
She's going little now. She's fading already. Just reaching into the easy box there.
Hey, there's a minimum of 3. I gotta make sure I can at least get 3
Easy
down.
box.
Yeah, right. The glaze.
That's going to be her Twitter handle.
Oh,
The easy box.
I'm going to lay off.
you're
Donut,
so funny. You can't
donut
help
coming
it.
out your nose can't be good.
Oh, and I haven't had anything to drink yet.
You need some more coffee?
No. Well,
So what are some of the things over the 13 years that you've continued to learn about putting on your race? Because me and Joel are putting a race on this year. Again, it's been a while, so we're kind of
We're almost
getting
rookies.
back into it. What are some things you've learned over the years and changes you've had to make to get where you're at today? He's still chewing a donut. Sorry about that.
No, it's good. That frosting is thick.
Crap, I just grabbed one of those.
I don't. You're just always tweaking things. Your biggest concern all the time is runner safety.
Especially out in that course.
Yes, especially,
Right.
and it's one of the draws, right? That you can run a 50K and have a back country experience.
Yeah.
Right. But that's always the concern: getting stuff in, getting people out. There's no great way to communicate. I mean, so we've tried a lot of different things, and so we've gone back to we have people sweeping both ways, and really stress to people, know what you're signing up for, and know that we have people in place and we have a plan in place. It's just going to take a while, or it'd be extremely expensive for you. So, broke down. I was trying to relax my neck meat.
Sorry about that. He's relaxing his neck meat.
My form broke down there for a second. I apologize.
He's been using his jaw
so I
to
think
chew.
that's the that's always the number one concern, right? Is because there's a lot of country back there, and you end up on the wrong side of the range. I mean, you're talking 50 miles from anywhere.
Right.
50 miles from the nearest golf opera.
Well,
Right.
further than that.
But if you stay in that drainage, you should be good, right? I mean, it's not like you think, not the drainage, but it's hard to get, to me,
Depends
it'd
on
be
which
hard
way
to
you're
get
going, right?
lost on that course, right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously I've run it a lot, but it seems like you would almost have to try
No.
to get lost.
So Curtis got lost out there one time.
But he-
right? He went down. Did he go down the road too far?
He
Yeah.
went down the road.
Yeah.
He wasn't lost
He
per
just
se. He just missed.
He just missed the
turn.
turnaround
Missed a
because he
turn,
went
yeah.
off that other trail.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a couple tricky spots. One year we had some people go up and over towards that Swift Creek Lake. That when they got up, they climbed out of the second lake. They went up instead of skirting. You know, there's that place where the trail kind of disappears, and we got a couple of cairns. We usually mark it pretty heavily, but that's the Lori Bantakus, Jake Elkins corner, we call it. Okay. They went.
We know Lori listens.
Yeah, we went up and over. They went up and over the top, and we're like, "Where are they? Where are they? Where are they?" And they showed up. And then the cool thing, they finished. Another segue here. Yeah, subtle. No DNF there, and they were off course for 3 hours, maybe.
Got their money's worth, more mileage.
Oh yeah, and probably another 2K of vert in, because that's what
That's
you
a
need
lot.
on that. Because that's what you need on that course.
Yeah, I was gonna say you need more vert.
Extra, more verts.
Yeah. The heavy ones too.
Yeah, I just finished my third. Where are you at?
He's
That's
on
your fourth. And you're, what are you, starting 3?
I'm starting 3, and these are heavy.
There's one box done, so now I got to go to the easy box here.
Yeah.
Over
These,
to
by the way,
glazed.
are disgusting. It's hard to ruin a donut, but
Why'd you go for that?
Yeah.
I couldn't reach the others.
Just ask Joel. They have to be one. Okay, is somebody counting? This is 3.
Okay, so
I am.
Debbie might finish this race. She's picked up her third.
Yeah.
So it's not done yet.
No.
And that's a heavy
Not,
donut.
my
I am
gosh.
I just
not out
had one
yet.
of those
Well, you
chocolate
guys,
cake
frosting
You guys
chocolate
gave me so much crap about going for the glazed for my second one. I figure I'll go big.
Yeah.
It's getting steep in there.
Yeah.
So this year, is there going to be any changes, anything different? It's going to be right on point.
The number one question I get is, what color's the sweatshirt going to be?
Yeah.
And I really don't know, else I would tell you. But I think leaning towards going back to the tie-dye, but a different tie-dye.
Different
so
like, pattern, because it was like yellow and purple.
we had like
and
the
blue.
full-on, like Rasta look, maybe going to a swirl or something, you know.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Blue on blue or something.
What
swirl.
color? What would we describe Debbie's color? She has an El Vaquero.
Texas orange, man.
That
Was
is
that
Texas.
Texas?
Hook 'em
Oh, yeah.
horns.
That's
Hook 'em
right.
This
horns,
one's my
man.
favorite.
What color's your high school? Colors.
Crimson and gold.
Yeah.
We
Okay.
had one of those.
Did we?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, but we had like the real gold, like the Vegas, the blingy gold, and so we've been through a lot. 13 years. There's only so many color schemes you can go through. So
Camouflage?
Green.
they're really expensive.
Are they?
Yeah, it costs you another $10 a hoodie because
It's
you
camo.
can't be seen.
So you can't. No one can see your upper torso as you're going anywhere. Ty's motioning for the. My hands
Oh,
are
he
full.
needs another one.
I got a donut and a mic in my
This
hand.
is part
Is
of
this
your
5?
tactic. This is
Oh
number
my
5.
God, dude.
So now, are we gonna? We talked about it on the trail a little bit, and before the show. Is there gonna be any? I don't know, throwing it out there. Any type of contests or different fun things this year for El Vaquero?
Well, for
or-
Lucky 13, we're just thinking what we needed some sort of special prize, since we're sans goth opera and blow up arches. We thought maybe we would have some sort of contest and I think what we settled on is for a sweet Vaquero related extra prize.
Oh man.
That we're going to have a contest which will be voted on by the TrailManners crew
Oh,
and
yeah.
myself
Right.
on the best cowboy garb that you race in.
They gotta
I'm not
race
talking
in.
about checking in. I'm
They
not
gotta
that.
race in.
I mean, you look
To
like
wear it
everybody
the whole
else in
race.
Afton if you show up with a cowboy
Yeah,
hat
you'd be
at
like,
check-in.
You'd
Yeah.
be looking. I'm like, are you running? Yeah, man.
Yeah. So the rule is you have to wear it 25K. That way it's fair for everybody, right?
Yep.
So they can
So-
wear it on the way back.
So
Or on the way
Or
out.
on the way
or
out.
on the way
Yeah.
up. Yeah. Actually, so maybe should we say maybe they need to start with it and wear 25K.
Yeah.
That would
Yeah.
be more safe because then you got the. Yeah. 'cause
I don't want to
you
be
got the hard
climbing
part.
climbing my
No.
jorts.
And people don't want to. Never mind. I don't wanna-
Because
I've been
when I
sitting
jump
show
in the
enough
lake
today.
near the end, I just feel chafing on the way down.
Yeah.
Dude, those things shrink up.
Yeah, and I don't need any of that.
Camel toe the whole way.
Yeah. I got to load up on the squirrel nut butter.
Yeah.
We got to get them to sponsor it because I think there's going to be a lot of that. I'm thinking
that's part
fraying
of
the
his
bottom of the
tactics,
short.
so quit eating donuts.
That would be classy.
What if we fray the bottom of the jorts?
threw up donut a little bit in my mouth.
No, that's a cool contest. So Joel can put that or have that on the website. But so
That's
the contest is for $25K. You got to have the best cowboy get up because El Vaquero Loco means a crazy cowboy. Am I right?
Yep.
I've been brushing up on my Rosetta Stone. So the crazy cowboy, $25K. So if you're doing the $25K, you're racing in your cowboy get up. If you're doing the $50K, you start with your crazy get up.
Yes.
Right? And you can even, if you want, you can go 50K in it. That's your choice, but you have to do 25K.
Get extra points
Oh my gosh,
if you
is
finish
this
in
number
it.
6 time?
You're messing with the wrong Vaquero, man.
Well, you do the weird contests up in your neck of the woods, too.
Yeah, you do those eggnog things, dude.
Yeah.
Oh.
Those things make me sick just looking at them.
I think that's going to be a fun contest.
I think so too. I'm looking forward to it.
And I like the whole concept of the prize. Something Vaquero related. So that's up to Ty. And I know it's going to be awesome. Maybe TrailManners will even chip in and throw some stuff in. We'll throw some stuff in the kitty, too, for the winner. Yep. So it'll be a big grand prize for those.
That'd be fun.
Did you say you're throwing in a kitty?
Yeah, we're throwing in a kitty. I got some in my
Oh,
house.
PETA's not listening to
No,
this.
I didn't say we'll throw them. I said we'll throw them in.
Hey, in today's climate, you just never know.
You don't. Yeah, people are
Our
more
listener
sensitive.
base, don't worry about
George,
that. Yeah.
George Lucas and kitties.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
it's getting
Yeah.
all sorts of confusement.
I know.
Yeah, we don't want to offend because people are really
We have been
offended.
stashing money away, so we can get that defense fund going.
Oh man, I went to the library and checked the couches. Whoa, we got $9 more. How's that?
All the bums are losing their change.
I went to deposit that at the bank, and the lady's like, "Nice job," because she knows the TrailManners crew. We bring it in small doses, so $9 was pretty good. I put it in the little change machine. Ching, 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 counts it up for me. Then I just read a thing that found out those things cheat you.
I saw that.
What is up with that?
I know.
I'm going to start counting my change before I take it in. So anyway, let's get off that. So yeah, El Vaquero, make sure you go sign up for it. We're going to have a link on the show notes if you don't know where it's at.
I'm number 4. Debbie just finished the race. She's at 3.
She's at 3.
I'm
Are you
starting at
tapping, or
4.
are you going to go for 4?
I'm gonna go for 4.
I'm gonna go for 4. I'm starting to feel a little bit.
Give me one. I got to put it out of reach here.
What
I'm
is that
gonna-
for you?
7.
Okay, this is 5 for me. So I'm
gonna
we're
hurt.
still-
We're gonna run out of donuts.
This is gonna hurt, but I'm not gonna be
I
getting
told
any
you.
crap for only having 3.
I told you we're going to run out of donuts. We got to whip up some eggs.
We got
I
4
got
left.
eggs. I got bacon. I got
Yeah, but if
you.
I to catch him,
Might,
mean, this is
might
5.
need to just put off the sugar coma. You might have to have some
think
salt in your system.
we're gonna be so amped. We're gonna be able to shovel Debbie's driveway and dig Joel's car out
Yes.
today.
And go for another round.
All right, so let's tackle the big topic now.
Okay.
We've covered all that.
Yes.
Our listeners wanted to talk about, which I am looking forward to educate myself and learn some insight. I know, right? The glazed aren't the spot for me. DNFing, right? DNFing
I think
is
we're witnessing one right now.
Joel made DNF on the glazed.
That's so different than those chocolate ones.
It's just pure cake.
Oh,
It's like, you got any syrup we can dunk in
Yeah.
or something? So DNFing, it's a big topic, and it depends. There's a lot of different philosophies on it.
it doesn't look so good.
His neck meat's like quivering. It's like spazzing. He's got a spasm in his neck meat.
Saw this on the hot dog eating contest.
What were you saying? You're going to channel your inner Kobayashi?
Kobayashi.
You start dipping it in your milk or water.
Can't reach.
So we'll cover subjects on the DNF. We had one question from a listener, and we'll get to that. But a DNF in general. I mean, I've DNF'd. No shame in it. You know, I've got a DNF under my belt. Joel,
I got several.
several.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm
I've
really
got a
good at
couple. Debbie says no, so this
None.
is good. This is part what we had on our show. And Ty
One
Has-
or 2.
Yeah.
has had a DNF.
Yeah. Several.
Now there's different
I think
mindsets.
Three or 4. I think I've got 4.
Yeah,
I think for varying reasons, but
that's fine. So one of the things that came up. So I was listening to the Turtle Miller show the other day because I listened to the TrailManners podcast, and I was listening to the show. And one thing that he said during the thing, he says a DNF is better than a DNS any day, right? And I have different thought process on that too. And I think the same with a DNF. I think there's too many variables to say one way or another. That's 100% yes, 100% no.
Well, yeah.
Because there's different reasons why people DNS, and there's different reasons why people DNF. So, thought process on a DNF. Let's just throw one thing out there. How do you rebound from a DNF? Let's just jump right into it. Like if you get a DNF, because I've DNF'd, right? Say Wasatch 100. I DNF'd Wasatch.
Oh, that's right. Your hamstring was bugging you.
I felt like I got shot.
Yeah.
Is what it was. A guy fell on top of me, which
Yeah.
is another story. But so how do you rebound from a DNF? You DNF. It's your A race maybe, or not even that matter. It's a race you're amped for. It's not like you sign up for races going in saying, I can't wait to drop. This is gonna be so cool to have to get a car right out of there. How do you mentally processing a DNF? What's kind of goes through your head?
I think if you're invested enough that it should bug you a little bit. I mean, far beyond, they shouldn't have to remove all belts and handguns from the premises and stuff like that. But, and if you're not pushing your limits a little bit, and you can say that, I know some people have... Got a donut in your mic. Not just in the beard anymore.
Sloppy.
That... they say, well, that guy was running out there winning it, and then he DNF'd, or, he just dropped because it wasn't going the way he wanted to. I've always maintained in all these years that you can get what you want out of this sport, If you're trying to break records and it doesn't go your way and you want to save it for another day, that's totally up to you. If you're not, you're not being a jerk about it. And, if you want to go back and see how many donuts you can eat for example, or whatever, you want to be back of the pack and have it be a social thing, awesome. Just stay out of people's way, and again, don't be a jerk, And so, but if you're pushing where your limits are, I think that's why most of us do this, is to see you can do stuff. You're bound to have an off day or just be like, I know one year at Wasatch, my father-in-law had been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and they'd just been given a couple of weeks to live, and all those things, and I just finally ended up stepping off. It was one of those days that it was just emotionally, it seemed so frivolous,
Right.
And my wife kept encouraging me. Catherine was like, no, every time lambs are like, you got to go, and so I trudge out of there, and they get to Upper Big Water, and they're like, you got to go, and you got to go. So, but I showed them. I dropped at Scott's, so they couldn't make me. They couldn't
yell
keep
at
me.
you?
They couldn't make me run.
Right.
So I said, radio them, tell them I'll be there eventually, but I'm out. And
No,
I walked all the way to Brighton.
Another good way to drop there is walk down and get a car ride.
Well,
That way you're for
and
sure
then finally, my wife just came and picked me up. She's like, "You jerk! You did that on purpose." You bet I did. She's like, "What's wrong?" I said, "Well, nothing really. I want to go back and shower and sleep in a bed." I'd had a big long walk at Hard Rock, and that's because. But in the end, yeah, it's important. But it is also, there's a lot bigger issues in life than not finishing a race.
Well, because what you just talked about, there's that mental side of it. You can plan for anything you want to plan for. You can train. You can dial in your nutrition. You can do whatever you want to do.
That's what I'm doing right now.
You're dialing that in. Yeah, you're getting amped up
You're
on the
real
new goo flavor called glazed donut.
That's ours, by the way. Don't even think about
Magda, don't even think about
Don't
it.
even think about it. That's ours. If you do, all the proceeds come to us.
I'm okay with that if you make it, develop it, sell it.
Maybe
just give us some money.
Robert's on this. He listens.
Glazed donut. That could be
Glazed donut.
good. Maybe with coffee, like a double shot.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Like
Yes.
you got a goo packet with
Yep.
a divider. So
Right down
half
I think
of
if I
coffee.
eat one more, it's out of reach. It's game over. So you better give me one more.
Oh my God,
It's
dude.
too bad because I'm still going too. This is 7.
Oh,
Give me
I think he
give me
donut
that one.
blocked you.
Give it
No,
to
give
him.
me
He
that.
told
What
me
number is
donut
that
blocked
one?
you.
That'll be
This
8
is
or 9.
What if I lick it first?
I'm so glad you guys.
I'm
ate
one of
those.
9 children, by the way, in case you're wondering.
I should have licked that one.
If you've ever wanted seconds.
Dang it. I had the donut in front. We're out of donuts. I had one in front of me, and he wanted another. I reached back for the last donut, and I thought, I'll just lick it. He won't eat it. And as I'm reaching over, he reached and grabbed my other donut.
Well,
He's a wily veteran.
he would have been able to tie it up. See, this is
That's all
almost
right.
mic drop.
I warmed that one up before. So
I don't mind.
I'm not near the microwave either. All right. Well, then I guess I'm like out, right? So, what was yours? 9? That sucks. Okay, whatever.
I only have 4.
This is
I'm
7.
not feeling good right now.
This is 7. I can keep going.
Nice thing is I'm not going to have to eat for a month.
Yeah.
We're going to an all-you-can-eat for lunch, so I better get ready to roll.
Man.
Yeah, roast beef and mashed potatoes.
I could probably do that.
So
I thought you were going to say all you could eat donuts.
well, they have dessert bar, like cheesecake and chocolate fountain.
No, man, it's the ice
Chuckarama.
cream thing, dude. You
And the
just
ice
guarantee
cream,
the ice cream
the
thing.
sprinkles. Yeah, so that'll work. So DNFing though, you think about it. You have those days because I've
Now,
actually.
wait a minute, Ty. You need to eat all those crumbs.
Yeah, he's got half his food all over my gear and on the floor.
Right there.
Hardly any on the floor, just all over the mic and the table.
So with the DNF though, if you're not, we've had people where they haven't had a good day, right? Like there's days where you just don't have a good day, but there's the things like the mental side, things going on in your personal life that pop up. But then there's also the big nasty, and that's an injury.
Yeah.
Right. And so we have someone sitting at the table with us who's dealt with this on big races. But, what point? I mean, everybody's different. But if you get injured in a race, you know your body for the most part better than anybody. How do you determine if I should keep going or, oh my gosh, this could be, what's the word I'm looking for? Permanent damage. I could
Right. You don't want to cause that permanent damage.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's that pops your mind. So we'll just toss this one right over. We'll lob this donut, so to say, over to.
You should have given me that tidbit before number 9, that permanent damage thing.
I'm not feeling sorry for you. So Debbie ran I'm Tough, which is literally a tough race.
Yeah, it's 110 miles.
Yeah, 100 between 109 and 140 miles.
Yep.
Depends on your GPS coordinates. And you got injured early on, right? How
Yes.
early on in the race?
Very early, around mile 20.
Okay, so that's literally early
Very.
in the race. And what did you do?
I was running along, just come off one of the.
I'm going to stop you just real quick because you got to put the microphone in front of your face.
Oh, hi.
There you
Can
go.
You hear me
Oh,
now?
yeah,
Can you hear me now? Running, just come off of one of the bigger climbs in the race, really technical downhill, and hit the road. We have, I don't know, about a mile or so of road, and I mentally checked out. I don't have to think. I can just kind of cruise along here on the road, and the one root on the side of the road grabbed my foot, and my foot kind of went underneath it, and I had to yank or break my fall with my face. So I pulled my foot out, and it hurt initially, and I thought, oh, that's a little owie. I'll be fine. Walked it off for a few minutes, carried on, and didn't really think about it again for another 25 miles. And I hit another pretty steep descent, and my foot started talking to me, and it was pretty loud, and because I was compensating, my other leg started to hurt, and for a long time that took over. My T-band on my left leg started to hurt, and I ignored my foot even more. Fast forward a little bit further in the race, and my foot basically just got to the point where when you really want to run in a 100-mile race to make up some time and keep your speed cruising is on the downhills, and I couldn't do it. I was walking very slowly on every downhill. And I had a great crew with me that year, fantastic pacers, and I stopped and I said, my foot is killing me. And I asked Brian was pacing me at that time, and said, I don't know what I've done, and kind of hit me. I thought, I tripped really hard earlier. And I asked her, we started going through a process. She asked me questions, what's going on? How does it feel? What do you think? And I said, well, I'm not quitting this race unless I can't make cutoffs, or I'm risking permanent damage and I'm not going to be able to continue running, or surgical. Like, am I going to have surgery to fix whatever I've done? And after we went through some questions and came down to it, no, we're going to keep going. We're going to keep going. It's probably not going to get worse. It's probably some soft tissue injury. She thought I had torn a ligament or a tendon, which is, in fact, what I had done. So I carried on, and I kept going. And it turned into a march, a hike. I walked probably about 40 miles.
The last 40?
Probably about that much. Yeah, I for a long time, I switched pacers. I switched to Harrison Fluman, and my goal was to jog the chorus of my music. Every chorus I would jog, and then I would let myself walk, and then I would jog the chorus, and then I would walk. And then it came down to the point where I was like, I'm going to jog for 10 steps. And then it was 5 steps, and then I couldn't do it anymore. Mm-hmm. And I told Harrison, I said, get me to the finish line. If I'm not moving fast enough, you tell me, and I will go faster. And every once in a while, he had to prod me. You got to make up some time. Keep going, keep going, keep going. And I'm stubborn, and I knew the disappointment I would feel if I didn't finish that race would hurt more than my foot hurt me in that moment. And I was confident in the diagnosis that
I was going to say,
Brian
were
and
you ever worried about this could be more than what I think it is?
The last probably 20 miles, the pain was pretty intense. I mean, nothing touched it. Tylenol didn't help. Ibuprofen didn't help. I mean, I couldn't eat. The pain got to that point where I wasn't really eating well.
Kind of like Joel right now.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm starting to rebound. I'm starting to feel a little better.
Where's the donut?
That was a low spot, but I feel a little better now.
Way to fight through.
Yeah.
Cut off time.
Yeah.
Just happened.
It did, thank goodness.
So I was confident in our diagnosis of my foot, official diagnosis, that I wasn't going to end up needing surgery and that it wasn't going to be something permanent, that I'd need some time off afterwards probably. But long story short, I finished the race, and that was a sweet finish. I'm pretty proud of that.
So let me ask you this. So you knew, hindsight being what it is, you know the damage that was caused.
Mm-hmm.
Still okay with finishing and not stopping?
Yes.
Okay. What if after the race you found out it was debilitating, like you had to have surgery? And I mean, what's your thought on that now? Like if you would have finished the race, been pumped, and then went back and said, yeah, we're going to operate, it's going to take 6 months, would you have said, man, I'm glad I continued?
It's hard to say, to live in the what if world, but I think knowing me and how much I need and love running, I may have been pretty mad at myself for carrying on. I ended up having to take about 2 months off just to let it heal. I had a tear in my tendon and had to take 2 months off, and then it felt like I was starting over from ground zero. Ty helped me with that. And that was hard, frustrating, but I would have been in that boat anyway. But to take 6+ months off because of a surgical fix, that would have been really hard for me. So I think I probably would have been
It's
mad
not
at
really
myself.
awesome.
No, I think I would have
the
been
way.
mad at myself. And, I think about that a lot. And, your stubbornness will get you pretty far. It'll get you to a finish line. But at what point are you risking injury? And that's one of the things I worry about with me is not knowing when to quit.
Right.
Because I have that constant thought in the back of my head, like the pain of the DNF is going to hurt more than whatever physical pain I'm feeling right now.
Right.
So for everybody here, a DNF, have you had a DNF that you look back on and think to yourself, I just should have kept going. I was fine. I could have kept going. I shouldn't have dropped.
I don't really have one like that, but I was thinking of the 4 DNFs I had. Twice as Wasatch. First time I had visions. I'd never been on the course. Leland was pacing me from from Brighton. I got to Upper Big Water. I threw up so much at Lambs you could hear it running in the storm drains under the freeway because my body just wasn't absorbing liquids. From the start, I just had all this liquid and I had visions, and I was new. That was my second 100. The first one had gone way too well, so I had visions of renal failure, and I had no idea, just inexperience. I ended up dropping. I didn't have a crew. I wasn't going to see him till Brighton. I had no way to communicate with him, and so that was part of it. I had another one that I actually dropped out of Smut 50 Mile one year because I had to make it to my parents' 40th anniversary party because I fell behind. It was part of big training for something I had coming up.
Right.
Might have been the Andorra thing or something. And I got clear up there partway around Scout Mountain, and a guy was headed out, and I'm looking at my watch and wasn't feeling the mojo. And then another one was at Black Hills. I was barfing at mile 20.
Wow.
And it was the year that I think Timmy set the record at Western when it was all snowy and it was brutal hot. So I came into 30 and I'm just I'm done. I think 17% finished that year because of the heat and humidity. And I when we were leaving, we went to Mount Rushmore and then we're headed up to Devil's Tower, and it's 95 degrees and raining. That's really humid. And I was just bon voyage.
Right.
I'm glad to be out of there, but yeah, so a bunch of weird reasons, but
Because I've talked to somebody who's dropped from a race. Their stomach went on them, maybe mile 60ish, say, of a 100-mile race. Their stomach has been gone for a while. They sat down. They're there is no way. I'm just wrecked. Okay. They sat down for a little while. They ended up DNFing, and then an hour later, they were oh man, I feel great. I feel fine now. I feel fine.
That's the mental side, don't you think?
Well, that's what I'm wondering.
Sometimes.
I mean, is it kind of a combination of both? Because we've all had our stomachs go south, right? And sometimes it comes quicker than others. My first Wasatch, my stomach was south for 40 miles. I couldn't get my stomach back. My very first Wasatch, and I just couldn't. But I kept going. It wasn't death bad, maybe what you just mentioned. But do you think that those times, how do you rebound from something like that, where you're afterwards, you're man, why didn't I just?
No, you
sit at
live
the
and you
aid
learn,
station?
right? I mean, that's the reason. As they call it, experience for a reason. And I think is managing that idea of how really important it is. But yeah, it should be motivating, but it shouldn't be my life is over kind of thing. We're all trying to find that balance, right?
Well, I think that's the hard part because mentally, most people, especially you notice in the ultra running scene, because you tackle 100 milers, 50 milers, things like that, the mindset is very competitive. Not necessarily with the person next to you, but with yourself. Because obviously, to train for those races, you're taking a ton of time. If you have a family, you're away from your family. You're paying money, you're traveling, all these things. So, as a mindset goes, I mean, how do you rebound? Like, is there? I don't say there's a way to do it, but if you're real competitive, finding that balance to come back, right? Because my first DNF was a 100-mile race in Montana. It's called the Swan Lakes 100. It was kind of an unofficial official race.
Anybody hardly ever finished that anyway. So.
No,
That's true.
Well, but it was like a 1-year deal,
Yeah.
and there was one, and it was a challenge. It's like, I love grizzly bears. Not that I want to come across one, but it's like, cool. You have to carry bear spray the whole time. I went up with my friend Jim Skaggs. In one spot, there was 25 miles between aid stations, right? And you prepare for that. You know what's coming. But what we didn't know is that in that 25 miles, you're going through the hottest part of the day, an exposed ridge through timber that had just freshly been burned at some point. So it's all black. So it was like a furnace when you went through there. And then there's no water. So I timed out, basically, at that one. I took a nap on the trail because I was tired, and, one thing led to another. I timed out. I couldn't recover from that. That was like my first DNF, but it was the first time I felt like I really failed, right? What's the mindset? I mean, how do you come back when you're competitive, because especially a race where you can't go back to. Like sometimes, I DNF Wasatch. I'm going to get the monkey off my back next year.
Right.
So how do you, what's the thought process as a coach? What would you tell somebody that went through something like that? Shake it off?
Yeah. Well, you have to kind of assess where they're at. If it wasn't just your timed out, with especially my high school kids, because all this is a lot of it's brand new to them. We talk when races go really bad. You say, hey, I tell them to ask them to pick 2 things that they learned that they would do differently last time. And we go down a checklist, nutrition, sleep, kind of those main things. And then I said, and then after we discussed that briefly, I said, I just tell them, make mental note of that, and now flush it. Let it go, and but it's a little bit different in a 100-mile race because it's not like you just really come back. But people can. I know that. I don't know if it's this last summer or the summer before. Brian Tolbert was he had his first DNF at calling you out, man, you and your mustache down at what's the one down? I can't even remember which. Their southern Utah, the 100K.
Zion?
No.
Bryce? Tushers?
Tushers,
okay.
yeah.
Tushers.
Yeah, down at Tushers. And, he's a competitive guy and a good runner and very competitive, and he was super frustrated by that. And we just kind of did an assessment. Well, what was it? And kind of some of the same things. It was kind of uncharted territory, ran out of water. And I'm like, hey, I know a guy. Why don't you come run Vaquero in 2 weeks from now, and let's just fix those 2 things and get the monkey off your back.
Right.
So it may be just getting back into a race. You're not going to be able
True.
to do swan thing. Get it in some sort of thing that you can at least prove to yourself that you won't do that same mistake again. Right.
Yeah.
Because as they say, insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. Part of the process.
So what would be good advice for somebody? And I know this is such a tough topic because there's so many things. Right?
There's so many different reasons to drop.
Too many variables.
Too many. It's the course, it's the weather, it's your training, it's nutrition, it's your mental side, it's if someone trips you, it's whatever.
Yeah.
Injury. But what would you say? One of the questions from Richard Allen that he sent us is, what would you think the most common cause of a DNF is? And I know that's tough, but like most common, like if you did
loss.
I
don't think. I think if there's one, it's just loss of will.
Yeah,
the mental side,
and
of
that's what another shameless plug, but that's what we discuss a lot at Vaquero. That's not an option on that course unless you want to pay for a $15,000 helicopter ride.
And you can get them cheaper too, like helicopter rides,
like
Uber.
Ubercopter.
Yeah,
you can get them a little cheaper.
Not in our neck of the woods.
Not in your neck.
When you just barely got microphones, helicopter's a big step up and it's expensive. But I really think that I think why that's the most common is because it's across the board, right? Because
it relates to everything.
Because we get frustrated when our production isn't meeting our training and or expectations. And so whether that be I was going for a course record and not going to make it, loss of will, right? Or whatever, problems at home, whatever. And I think I picked that up from the guys at Wasatch. That's not an injury, right? Loss of will. And they'll write that on your card.
Oh, really?
I got that. Yeah, loss of will. And the first one I dropped, because there's no medical diagnosis, right? I mean, and it's just because your expectation, you're not performing, or you think that, I don't know,
well, I guess
they're going to love you less when you get home if you get a badger buckle instead of a cheetah, or I don't know, but we go through those. The mind's a funny thing.
Well, because the mind could really relate, not just the loss of will, but the mind could relate to the other things like injury. Are you really hurt, or is it just you run out 90 miles, or you're just sore, right?
Yep.
So if we're playing Family Feud, we got the 6 things on the board, right? So number 1 would be loss of will. What would some of the other ones be up there? Most common, like if you, I'm not saying rank them, but percentage points.
Stomach.
Yeah,
like nutrition.
For me, it was always stomach. Like there's other things could go wrong, but I went 1 year at Leadville. For the last 30 miles plus, I had half a shot block. That's all I could keep down. It wasn't, as it turns out.
Eat 9 donuts. So
it was not enough. Another year at Hard Rock, I went like 9 hours, and I couldn't keep anything down.
Wow.
And so nutrition, stomach, blisters has got to be up there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Which a lot of times is related to hydration, I think.
You think so?
I do.
Yeah.
Wow.
I do think.
Yeah.
What about, injury would be on the rank, but again, like we said,
be low.
but it could be related to the mental part, like you said, like, is it really an injury? How bad does it hurt?
Resilient
second guessing.
Yeah.
I think it would be on there more than injury, right? Where you're second guessing what happened, or because something doesn't go as the way you envisioned it or planned it, and so you're asking what we'd tell. I always tell my athletes going into an ultra is to have several goals. You have your pie in the sky goal, you have kind of your second tier goal, and then I was telling them, have that goal to finish, because sometimes things don't go right, but yeah, that's what we learn from this, right? And what we do is we sit in a comfortable kitchen and eat donuts and talk about running. That's part of the challenge and the allure, is to challenge yourself and to overcome stuff, right?
Yeah.
As Yvonne said, that the adventure doesn't start till things start to go wrong.
Well, just like we said, again, we'll talk 100-mile race because it's easy, but in a 100-mile race, it's rare, like super, I would imagine, dodo bird rare, right, to have everything go your way.
Right.
Weather, terrain, training, nutrition, splits, whatever you're training on. So it's almost like at some point you have to be able to adjust on the fly or embrace that. Okay, here's
a low spot.
Some low spot. Oh crap! I wasn't planning on this climb at this point on the course, or whatever it might be. Right. Mm-hmm. When you talk to your athletes about making these goals, does some of it entail something will go wrong?
I think you need to, and if you go in thinking nothing will, that's going to derail you even faster. The old adage of hoping for the best but expecting the worst. I think that little bit of realism, or maybe at least the ability to have a little self-deprecating humor, and I know that some of the even races or trips that have gone horribly wrong. Those are always the best stories.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And those are the one you enjoy telling at the finish line. If you're not totally destroyed, you'd be like, oh, yeah. It turns like that Monty Python skit. Well, yeah, I got chopped up to little bits and eaten by a bear, and everybody's like, swapping all those things. And it is. That's what makes us resilient. I think that's part of the allure is, if it was a sure thing, if it were a slam dunk, I don't know that it would be so appealing to...
Well, not only appealing, but it wouldn't be so gratifying, right?
For sure.
When you finish, like, Debbie's finish, probably, and I don't know, we didn't talk about it, but nowhere near the time she was looking for, right? She was probably going in, hey, this is my goal, and she probably didn't get it because of her but finishing, like she said, she was like excited, because it's almost like she found something deeper that was there, but she's like, man, I'm phrasing for you here, but I'm tough. If I can fight this, I can answer to my, and again, this isn't Debbie talking, I can manage my boss or whatever, you know what I mean? It's like, it's a milestone in your life.
Right.
Because my first Wasatch, wow, you know, it was a junk show from the start, right? It was just a junk show. I thought, oh, it really is 100 miles. I thought it was like they were just putting that on the paper.
Teasing me.
Someone moved the decimal, dang it.
And
I thought it was, we weren't even kilometers. I didn't even messing with the metric system here.
You know, the funny thing is I had Scott Jaime take me from Big Mountain to the finish, which is basically 100K. He paced me the whole way, and he told me, he goes, I was more sore pacing you than running that course if I just raced it. Because we were going so slow, right?
That's a good pacer right there.
But I mean, that was my first 100, and Wasatch isn't an easy course, and my time was close to 35 hours. It was under 35. I'm going to stick to that. But it was probably still one of my, and I remember sitting in the back because when they hand out the plaques, they start at the very back, right? They're like, coming in at 35, 59, 59, and they go that way. And I remember I was sitting next to my wife, and I was kind of, at first, I thought, because I was a team sport guy my whole life, you train to win. That's it. You don't train for second place. So I'm sitting there going, it's kind of embarrassing, you know. Because they were saying your place, 100 and whatever place, and I'm like, oh my God, third place was bad, right? And now it's like, in the time of this, 78th place, and I'm like, oh brother, you know. And they say my name, but as soon as I stood up, I felt this like, hell yeah, you know, and everybody there was like been through it, so they're like, oh, this is awesome. So then your mind shifts. It's like, you know what? It's not sometimes just about the ultimate goal.
Well, and it's pretty hard to capture the feeling of your first 100, finishing your first 100. Yeah. You know, I say mine went extremely well, way better. This is kind of a perfect storm kind of thing, and you know, I think I ended up fourth behind Leland, Carl, and Hal. In my first 100,
that's
you
not
know,
bad.
and not that the time was, you know, and the time was solid and that sort of thing, but they were obviously they didn't race till about the last 20 miles because they had all these. I think Hal came off the Colorado Trail record. Leland and Carl had run Wasatch 2 weeks before, you know.
So
but I spent like on the old course, and I kept thinking, I really shouldn't be running with these guys. And then again, once they decided to race, I wasn't any longer. You know, I remember my pacer at one point saying, I think it's called a 100-mile run. Yeah. Because I'm walking down this flat road, you know, just because I'd never been awake for 20 hours in my life, you know. But, you know, remember that feeling if you ran the old course, running down into the Cub River Canyon they had that light. It seemed like you could never get there. They had the light. Trying to get to it. And really 10 feet tall and bulletproof, you know, you could do anything at that point. And I would probably agree it's kind of like maybe the first hit's free or whatever, but spent the last 15 years chasing that feeling, right? And I don't know that I've maybe come close twice, but it doesn't really match that. And that's what people want, right? You want that fulfillment, and you want to be a part of something, part of that community. And until you put on that buckle, whether it's gold, silver, or bronze, or 178th place, or whatever it
still
is,
got a buckle for it.
There you go. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You know, and then you're you know, you're in the club or whatever, and that's something outside of all the stuff that we have to do every day, you know, mortgages and jobs and podcasting and stuff like that.
Podcast sometimes feels like a 100-mile race.
This one, listening to this one might feel like it too.
This one's going so much better. Or two times ago.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So, I mean, overall, from a coaching standpoint, again, as far as a DNF goes, I mean, do your athletes know, hey, I think some people come into it with, I will never DNF, right? That's kind of what I've talked to people that says, my goal, I don't want to DNF, right? Because I don't fail, so to say. Yeah. But I mean, is that realistic too, though?
I don't think you're. That's what I say. I don't think you're pushing yourself hard enough in the right ways. And I know, you know, as a coach and as an athlete, I'm like, I can be okay with that on a certain level. But again, from the race director thing, that makes me crazy. I won't use any names, but there's a guy at Vaquero this last year that was in a bad way, and he did not for anything want to drop. And I was really grateful that I was able to say, you know, this is not your day, and it's going to be okay. Because again, it becomes a safety issue at a certain point if you're really at that point. And again, it's not worth that, you know.
And there are some people I know out there that have not DNF, that have pushed themselves. But it's interesting sometimes when you talk, like you said, when you talk to what a lot of the people consider the top athletes. You know, people throw the word elite around, or people that win, or whatever it might be. But when you talk to them, sometimes some of their best stories are the DNF stories.
And they can be, the ones I think are really cool, though. I know that sometimes, for whatever reason, again, everybody, it's hard to walk a mile in their shoes or whatever. They all have their reasons, your disappointment or whatever. But I know the cool things that I've been a part of is when you have one of those guys that's, gunning for the win or whatever, and then it comes a point, instead of pulling the plug completely, I was trying to think who I was reading about it. Seems like it was Zach Miller or something. And they just go hang out, and they cruise back there and they hang out and learn everybody's name in the middle of the pack and they still, so I think there's a happy medium, and to me that there's huge respect, for to be able to separate yourself from your performance that quickly, and say, I totally blew up, but I'm going to wait for a buddy, and I'm gonna jog this in, or I'm gonna So there's a lot of ways you can rescue it, and I don't. We're not all don't have the luxury of making all the money that you podcasters do, but in the end, that's with any of that, whether it's the buckle or whatever. You can remember the friendships that people even might as well get that finish line vibe going early, and just cruise along, and I think that's a pretty cool thing. Yeah. Despite disappointment, despite expectations, despite running 150 miles a week and being a pro, or whatever that means, is I've seen guys do that, and I just think it's pretty mad respect for that they get it. Yeah, they get, and that's what drew us all to, and that's what drew us all to the sport. That and buckles, but
buckles.
Hashtags.
Buckles. Well, I don't know. We're not going to go down.
It's drawing
there.
people to sport hashtags.
It is, apparently.
Because that's kind of another part of the whole DNF thing too, and not everybody can see behind the curtain. But when these certain athletes out there, whoever they are, over the years have taken on these sponsorship responsibilities, you wonder at times if that plays a part in their psyche of can't drop or.
Yeah. Well, people joke about their ultra sign-up rating,
Oh yeah.
And and that's
Joke?
Again, it's a it's a tricky thing though, because like you say, there's a certain amount of ego attached to this, or I wouldn't go on vacation to get up at 5 a.m. to and
have a donut eating contest.
To run and have a donut eating contest while dodging the police in North Ogden this morning. So that what I mean. So there's a certain amount of ego or satisfaction. I think maybe again it's kind of blasé or whatever, but I think I think you going into it, you got to figure out what you want to get out of it, whether that's the race or the sport or in general, and if you can stick kind of to your own code of ethics without poo-pooing anybody else's. Yeah. I think that's really important. Not only in ultra running, but just the life period. That is a certain amount of empathy that we don't really understand.
Well, because I've talked to people that have had a really, really difficult time DNFing. I was one of them years ago, my first time. But I think what people need to understand is they look at it as a stain on their record or their mark or their ultra sign up or whatever it is. And sometimes the best thing you can do is talk about it. I know when I started to feel better about my first one, I was like grumpy Gus for a long time because I've never experienced it.
Involve a couch and have to
probably
that kind of discussion.
Yeah, I just put my recliner on my porch.
Yeah,
and just yelled at kids that stepped on my lawn as they walked by.
You were a grumpy Gus.
I was. But it's okay to reach out to people too that have gone
people
through
get it. That's what. Again, the experience, and there's those people out there, and there's people. I've been at this long enough that I'm now one of the old. I was one of the new guys at one point. I remember, scouring the internet for ideas and finding people. The Rock Hortons, the Mark Bodemers, the people in my life that kind of mentored, and that's a huge reason why I finally decided to coach and stuff, because I think we're in right now where it's the opposite is true. There's so much information. Yeah. And the experiment of one and all those things. But hopefully there's a little credibility that 16, 17 years later, and only one major surgery, and still kind of kicking around at it, and that's what's fun to see, And I think that we all have the responsibility to kind of pass on those ethics and those ideas that what brought us to the sport, because I kind of take that for granted with the explosion. It's different than it ever was, and I'm trying not to be that guy like, oh, here it goes, it's all going to hell in a handbasket kind of thing. But it's there. You sometimes have to look a little harder for it. But I think that's what we want to pass on, and that's what all of us want to preserve with the sport. So you just stick to that, find that code of ethics, really understand why you're doing it, that it's not to be rich or for some free gear.
Yeah.
And you'll get through it.
Well, because you bring up a great point. We had Rock. You keep talking about Rock. We had Rock Horton on the show. And when we sat down before we did the show with him, he was like, hey, well, what are we going to do? And I just wanted to talk to him about that, where he was kind of one of the pioneers. And when I said that to him, he's like, oh, no, there was this guy. And he was naming people ahead of him, right?
Yeah. But that's what's cool.
That's what is cool. And he mentioned the same thing. He said he went through a period where he was kind of that poo-poo thing. He's like, he was getting disheartened with the ultra running community because of one thing or another. And then he had, and I wish I remember off the top of my head, talking to the microphone so much, but he had an experience with a race or with somebody, and it just basically swung him, the pendulum, back around where he almost said, you know what, but now it's my responsibility to pass on.
I wonder if that was with me. I knew Rock kind of from the old Montreal, Patagonia / Nathan team. I kind of came on at that transition, and he actually paced me at that Leadville. I was doing the Rocky Mountain Slam. He and Catherine were down there for a wedding because they came from Crested Butte or something originally before they came up here to Salt Lake. And he was going to pace me just for a May Queen Inn. That's kind of what would fit their schedule. And, of course, I'm just like, are you kidding me? It's like, I'm gonna go, sing with, Steven Tyler or whatever. You know what I mean? It's this kind of rock star. Yeah, iconic rock star guy. And I'm blow up, guts blow up everywhere in Half Moon. And that's that section where you're like running and there's this highway and like there's the fish hatchery right here. And then all of a sudden you find yourself like running not towards the fish hatchery on this road. And I'm just a wreck, I'm falling to pieces. And I'm coming into the fish hatchery finally, and then here comes this Land Cruiser just screaming, and Catherine's like yelling out the window in her black dress still, and I just see these dress clothes like flying in the back, and I get there, and my plan I was going to have a buddy pace me, and I had actually at Twin Lakes there's kind of the 2 aid stations where you come in. And I dropped him. He was struggling with the altitude just in the aid station. So I'm stressing out. I'm like, what am I going to do?
This is your buddy, right?
Yeah, my buddy. And I'm like, what am I going to do? It's like, it's not going to be able to do 26 miles if I dropped him in the aid station. And then, anyway, so Rock jumped in there at the fish hatchery. You can mule there. And I went to put on my pack. He's like, you're not wearing that. And so, and he just whipped my butt to the finish. It's another story for another day. But it was one of those things, that whole thing. And I think Leland had been the only one that ever paced me at that point, and I had paced a couple times. But that whole experience is just like my whole world expanded. And so careful if you ask me to pace, you get the Rock Horton treatment, and it's so good and oh so bad.
It's one of the mixed.
It's so enlightening in a
like
horrible way.
Isn't it? It's so good. But so
bad. It's better than that.
Yeah.
I know.
Okay. He's done both.
Yeah, he's done both.
Yeah, I think I'd go for half a cliff block and 26 miles right now. But
we should have a cliff block eating contest.
Oh. No, I'm out. Tapped out. I threw up enough of those.
So, I mean, that's, there's a lot of, we talked about just some of the things, and there's a lot out there. And we've asked our guests, hey, you can send in questions and things like that, because it is something that's some people have a harder time dealing with than others, is the DNF situation, But I think at the end of the day, like you said, if you're not DNFing, maybe you're not pushing yourself hard enough. Maybe you are. I don't know. Maybe you're just one of those lucky few maybe out there, but it's part of it. It's part of throwing up. I remember when I first started, my goal was never to throw up, because I heard how much people throw up. I'm like, well, I don't really throw up anyway. I don't like it, so I'm never going to do it, right? And then my first throw up, I'm like, wow, that was insane. Like, I don't want to do that again, but I did.
You get good enough at it. It's just like Michael Phelps. I just turn my head and keep running.
Keep going, and
just
hoping your
running.
pacer's in front of you.
Oh.
Yeah, no, I'm not even worried about
You don't
that.
care
I just
about
keep
that.
running. I just keep running.
going.
Just keep running.
You're one of those.
You got to embrace that post-puke adrenaline. I used to see how many miles I could get in on an empty stomach before you started feeling crappy again. I'd count them off because you kind of get, you feel better for that little bit when you empty your stomach. Like, okay, we're going to make our money. We're going to see 5 miles before I start feeling like a crap sandwich again. And you just hammer. I don't know if it's a great advice, but I've finished a lot of races that way. Yeah. And sometimes you don't even have milk, even 2.7%.
2.7.
That's what he asked for.
It is
hard to find.
Well, you're used to from the tap, though, right?
Yeah.
You get
From the star.
From the team.
from the start.
Oh, geez, from the start.
So all in all, around the table, I'm going to put everybody on the spot. Advice you would have to somebody that is going through a DNF situation. They just DNF'd. I'm putting everybody on the spot. Everybody's looking at me with these starry eyes.
It's the donuts.
It's the donuts. It's the sugar rush.
It's the sugar coma.
Yeah. So
It's coming hard.
someone just went through a DNF. You know they're struggling with it. What's some good advice or things you could say to potentially help these people out? I'm starting with Joel because Ty pointed that direction, and Joel's been quiet.
I have. Well, you guys are talking so good.
I
Sometimes
know,
you just got to know when to shut up and sit back and let the magic
I know.
happen.
I take the hint.
Gosh, I don't know. I mean, I've DNF'd several times, and the only time it ever bothered me was this last year at Vaquero.
I was trying to keep you anonymous there, buddy.
That's okay.
Dang, all right.
No, that's the only time it ever bothered me.
Yeah. Well, I
And
know
that was it wasn't physical that time.
Yeah.
The other ones that I DNF'd, it was pure physical. This time it was just, well, my stomach had turned, and there was other mental things that were going on. And that really bothered me until we got back to the start line.
Well,
Actually,
I had you on close watch there for a while.
Actually, it
That's why I
bothered
made
me.
you sit by me.
It bothered me for a while, too, all through August and September, to be honest. But I'm over it now, I think. I guess my advice is you're going to get over it eventually. I think if you're resilient enough, and you should be resilient because you're running ultras, right? You'll get over it. Don't beat yourself up too much, would be my advice. And if it's physical, don't ever think that it's not worth it, because it's so worth it to drop out if you've got an injury, because you're going to run again. That'd be my advice.
Okay. Debbie, you're up.
It's tough. I've never done it before, but I'm not foolish enough to think that it can't happen or maybe even won't happen eventually. Compared to the experience we've got going on around this table, I'm a rookie at this sport, and I think I've just been really fortunate and lucky. I know my stubbornness will only take me so far,
It's persistence if it's positive,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
You're
it's
not
just
stubborn.
Toughness, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think of it as a positive attribute. I'm okay with it. So, I mean, I don't want this to sound trite to anybody that's gone through a DNF or eventually will, but like Joel said, you're going to get over it, live to run another day, and let's go out for a run. I think that would be my first thing to any of my friends or anybody. It's just, all right, we're going to go run, and we're just going to go have fun, and we're going to take the pressure off. There's no race. There's no expectation. We're just going to go run and have some fun and get back to what you love about the sport. Remember what you love about the sport. What's the first thing that drew you to this anyway?
Right.
Is it being out there alone? Is it being out there experiencing the hills? Is it the race experience itself? Whatever it is, let's go find that and get back to it.
Right.
All right, you're up, Coach.
Probably said way too much anyway. I think I like with the idea of you got to enjoy the process. Sometimes we get the cart dragging the donkey, because we're worried about how it's going to turn out or wondering how it's going to turn out. And you got to go back to those base values. And for a little cowboy wisdom, you got to get back on the horse. You got to figure out what that is, what's best. It may be taking some time off. It might be getting off the horse by just unsaddling the horse for a while. But, bounce it off. There's plenty of people that are glad to help, ask. Plenty of other people that have been there, done that. And then, really, it's like most things, like my dad said about milking cows for 40 years, it's not so bad once you get over the shame of it. So, you're going to be fine. And the from the hardest things that happen to us in life, that's where we learn the most, right? And
That's true.
There's a lot, and it's
doing.
nice. Again, more coaching stuff with my high school kids. I have these discussions with parents when a kid screws up, and or in an ultra race, that's a nice place to learn some of that resiliency, because there's way harder things that people are going through than a DNF.
Right.
You know,
Keep
and
that
yeah,
perspective.
yeah. So keep it in perspective. But you can let the kind of that fear or that shame or whatever the bugging you, it can paralyze you, or you can use it to motivate you.
Right.
You know, after that first DNF at Wasatch, you know, you never want to get comfortable with it. I don't think. I think maybe some of that too. But I was, you know, when it's 40 below in Auburn, Wyoming, it was still pretty easy to get out of bed. When I didn't want to get out of bed, I remember, you know, I just tapped into that feeling that I felt, you know, taking the ride of shame, you know, back to the finish line, and helps you get out of bed, and then that's what resiliency is, right? You're using that to motivate you or refocus or whatever.
Okay, nice. Well, I think that kind of wraps, and it's a lot of good information for people, you know, especially ones that were wanting to know more information about DNFs.
Right.
You know, it's kind of what you all said, you know, as far as why are you doing it, embrace it, you know, get back on the horse, you know, all these different things. So at the end of the day, I think for me, it's just a matter of the same thing. It's like, why do you do these things? You know, it's not over. It's just kind of a, you know, little setback, right? And then it's a comeback after that. And so you can set yourself up for success after that. So I think that's pretty much it for the show. We ate some donuts. What was the final count? You had 9. Joel?
4.
Debbie?
4.
Okay. That's me. Yep, that's right. So I had 7. So 9, 7, 4, 4. So I could still... Dang, that was a bummer. We're going to bring more next time or come up with another one because that was good. And we got...
Save that for Turtle Show, would you? Or?
No.
No.
We're trying to help him drop, right?
Yeah.
That was our show. We got to get Turtle to 250.
Maybe
150.
Luke or somebody.
250.
150.
He's got to drop 60 pounds to get down to 250.
Yeah.
He's got to gain more.
who's friends like that? Who needs enemies?
That's right. So we're going to go through some Joel. What's your donut name? We're going to throw those out there we talked about.
Oh, yeah, Chocolate Thunder.
Chocolate Thunder is his name. Ty's was...
The Donut Donkey?
Yeah, the Donut Donkey. Debbie was like, don't make me answer this.
You coined something for me. Go for it.
What was it?
Sprinkles.
I don't remember. It was
We had
something.
sprinkles.
Yeah.
There was
But
something
there's all, like-
really dirty.
We'll
but
just
I
go with
forgot.
sprinkles because the other one was
Cruncher.
pretty dirty.
Yeah.
Cruller Cruncher. Yeah, sprinkles.
I'll stick with sprinkles.
Yeah.
All right. All
My
right.
my donut haze is just, I can't think right now.
And so, yeah, I think that's it. Ty, thanks again. You're on
Thank you.
vacation. Thanks to you and your wife. I know she's listening for sharing you with us before you go shopping. And like I said, let me know where you're shopping because I'm registered at a few places in town.
Perfect.
So I can give you that information.
That carrot diamond.
I'm
Yeah.
sure it's right up your alley. I'm sure.
probably
and probably
is.
mine too. I'm
Yeah.
sure. We're
I'll wear it. To
part of
Vaquero.
it's part of the gig, man.
And Debbie, thanks for letting us. We're actually in a different studio.
We're in the we're gonna have to come over here more often.
Yeah.
This is warm.
It is warm.
It's comfortable.
Yeah.
Anytime. You're welcome.
Yeah, so-
Anytime.
Got a good view.
Yeah, we're looking out the window.
I mean,
It
we're
is
not looking at
still
the liquor
dumping
store. I
Snow.
mean-
Oh my gosh. So yeah, thanks for listening to the show. Again, don't forget to check out El Vaquero Loco if you have been thinking about it.
And if you have,
Just run it.
do it.
And I know I've been threatening for a long time, but it's not going to be around forever.
Yeah.
It's got to
I
be
know
around for 3 more years. at
I've
least.
made several, rash things. Only 10 years. Obviously, we've passed that.
Past that.
Again, yeah, it's you just I can't DNF at this point. So
You gotta let me get 5. Keep
yeah,
going.
so we've got a few more, but it's not gonna be around forever. So.
And it's a great atmosphere, great environment. We're going to be there.
Yep.
Joel's going for a course record, so he's going to be primed to bust it out. But yeah,
Dude, that was supposed to be in the down low.
Down low, you busted yourself on your goals podcast.
yeah. There's no one listen to that. But yeah, we'd like to thank everybody for joining us today. If you have any questions, again, hit us up. We'll leave the notes to the link in the show. And don't forget, there's more things to work on than just your stamina, your mileage. Don't forget about your neck meat. That comes in handy, especially if you're wearing a headlamp, to got to keep that head up, for those long miles. So, again, Ty, thanks for braving the storm and coming down to join us. Debbie, again, thanks for hosting us. And everybody, thanks for running this morning. Joel, thanks for the donuts. I might give them back to you in a few minutes. So, that's all for this week. Catch us on Thursday for another single track session. Thank you for listening to the TrailManners podcast. We'd like to thank Ty, Draney, and Debbie Farka for joining us today. And we also want to encourage everybody to follow us over on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at TrailManners, or swing by our website at trailmanners.com. You can stop by our store page for some gear, or hit us up on the contact page. Let us know what you want to see, who you want to hear, or even if you would like to to be on the show. Until next time, this is Eric Manning with Joel Hatch reminding you, you don't get what you wish for, you get what you work for. Now go get it.